How you doing, YouTube family? Today is Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. It's your man Big D, and I'm back with another one. Want to thank all you good folk out there in YouTube land for continuing to rock out with my son and I. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Well, family, I am back with another video, and it is always an absolute pleasure to listen to my man Billy Carson come on these YouTube streets and drop knowledge. Just listening to the brother, it helps me to see things from many different perspectives, but most of all, it enhances my knowledge. Just listening to Billy Carson when he gives his commentary. So, family, in this one, Billy Carson is going to give his thoughts on this congressional hearing that took place some time ago. And this congressional hearing was basically you had whistleblowers coming forward to talk about their experiences that they've had with unidentified flying objects. Now, the issue is this, and this is why we have to keep talking about this, and we can't forget about it. I understand that we have other craziness going on in the world. I understand we got issues in the in the dating market. I understand we are at a point where the economy is at an all-time low. I get all of that. But why we got to keep talking about this whole UFO thing and these people coming forward blowing blowing whistles and whatnot, when years ago when people tried to come forward like this, they got deleted. You weren't gonna be talking about stuff you ain't have no business talking about. So now, up under the protections of a congressional hearing, these people are now coming forward with this information. And the main reason why we got to keep talking about it is this: we all know that we're not the only things in this universe. We ought to know that we are not the only living creatures in this universe. And we should also understand that we are damn sure not the smartest. So anybody who don't care what your religion is, don't care what your faith is, don't care about none of that. You got to understand that is no way in creation that we are the only things in throughout the whole universe, and the universe is vast. So, what is concerning is the fact that the government, some of the government, want to release the limited information that they have concerning UFOs. But the problem is, people that's in government, politicians, they can't even get access. So, you can imagine what the powers that be are hiding from the American people. Family, we got problems. And our problems are so vast that we are so caught up with bullshit that we are slowly being led to the slaughter like turkeys on just before Thanksgiving. Y'all know what happened to the turkeys all year long. They raise them up, they fatten them up, and then come around about this time, turkeys start coming up missing. So that's the same thing happening to us. We are being lulled into a false sense of security because we have, as a society, we have just become a bunch of automatons, robots, and we just go about our day plugged into the matrix, getting our life force drained on jobs, just drain, just daily life, everyday living is a drain on on your spirit, your life force, your essence. So we got a lot to deal with. But man, when you got a government, when you got the government and the president, the vice president, and the senators and whatnot, they can't even get access to some of the technology that's out there because you got off the book businesses that are owned by gazillionaires you know, and they want and because they don't fall up under the jurisdiction of the government, they can pretty much tell the president, "Nah, you ain't seeing ish." But at any rate, my man Billy Carson is going to give his commentary on this whole congressional hearing. He's gonna give his thoughts. And I didn't the entire Billy's entire video is over an hour long. So I didn't want to actually over an hour and 30 minutes long, but I didn't want to belabor y'all with the whole congressional hearing, but you need to go look at it and look it up because it is very, very interesting. You got people, these men coming up, risking it all just to give their version of what they think the truth is. And when I say what I mean by what think the truth is one of the men made a statement that made a lot of sense. He said that basically we don't know if these life forms, these are unidentified flying objects or whatnot, these UAPs, whatever new acronym they want to give them. They don't know if it's from another planet. They don't know. They don't know if it's from another planet, family. They don't know. It could be from another dimension. Maybe these beings have the ability to bend space and time. So, like he said, they don't know. For all we know, they could be at the very depths of the ocean. There are oceans that we have no idea how deep they are. It could come from there. But family, without further ado, let's go ahead and let Billy go ahead and give his thoughts on this thing.
Of national security involved in this technology. If we are racing for it to master that technology against the Russians and the Chinese, which is what I have been told by Senator Reid and many others, then it is a race that's critical to our survival. There could be a form of disclosure, I think. Yes, it's real, it's from somewhere else, without revealing all the details that would allow someone else to have an advantage in the race for this technology.
Thank you.
My first question is to Mr. Knapp. Mr. Knapp, how do we know that the files that you obtained from the former Soviet government are not BS and just given to you as a disinformation campaign against the U.S. government?
That's a good question. So I shared some of them with the Senate Intelligence Committee when I first got back because that was requested by the Russians who shared some of that information with me. Secondly, I gave all of that material to the DIA through BASS, the OSAP program, sorry for the acronyms.
Can you name names real quick? Sorry.
At BASS or OSAP?
Who did you give them to directly?
I gave them to Robert Bigelow and to Jim Lukatsky. And they hired a whole team to go through them and retranslate them and analyze it. And they created a structure of how the UFO programs in the USSR and Russia were put together. They said they were real. The other person who said they were real is David Grush.
And then finally, Mr. Borland, when you engaged with Arrow in 2023, you noted that their public statements did not match the reality that you and others had witnessed. In your assessment, what were the key limitations of Arrow?
You know, I would put it to you this way. The statement Arrow has made is scientific evidence of extraterrestrials. Scientific evidence requires a scientific control. Extraterrestrial is an entity on another planet. The only way to scientifically prove extraterrestrial is we have to go to that planet, acquire technology, bring it back, and compare it to what we have here.
So you're saying they won't let anything out because, or they won't come forward unless they confirm that unless they go to the planet and confirm where its origin is?
That would be scientific evidence, yes. And by that statement, Arrow found no scientific evidence of extraterrestrials is basically, I don't want to call it a psyop, but a misrepresentation because we do have things. But making that statement is not technically a lie. It's a misrepresentation of the full truth.
I'm going to go to you, Mr. Knapp, first. You've interviewed numerous UAP whistleblowers over the years. Question is, how do you verify their claims before deciding they're credible enough to report on?
It's a combination of factors. First, you check their credentials. Did they really serve where they said they did, and did they work where they said they did? Are there any other witnesses? Is there visual proof, film, footage, things of that sort? You ask the people around them that know them, that used to work with them, if they're credible people. That's one way. You know, I think about Arrow, the organization that this body created to deal with witnesses and whistleblowers. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time here, but they invited people to come forward, service members who knew, saw things and had experiences. And I can tell you that the people that I have talked to who went through that are deeply disappointed. There was a guy named Bob Jacobs who was a lieutenant attached to Vandenberg in 1964. His unit would record missile tests. They recorded all of them. On one of these particular tests, a UFO comes out of nowhere, zaps what looks like a laser beam at what would have been a nuclear dummy, a nuclear weapon, and disabled it. And he is called into the commander's office. Two guys in suits clip that film footage out that shows the UFO, and he's ordered to never talk about it. He comes forward to Arrow. He heeds the call, thinking he's doing his duty as an American to tell that story, and they completely dismissed him. They made up a story that they had tracked down the original footage, and there was nothing like that in it. Well, there was no original footage. It had been taken away the day the footage was recorded. He's deeply disappointed. People like Bob Salas, who had worked at a nuclear ICBM base, who saw UFOs flying over the base, and these missile silos were taken down. He went to Arrow, too, and was completely disregarded. It almost looks like Arrow operated as a counterintelligence operation to get people to come in, tell their stories, and then discredit all of them. I can't imagine that any whistleblower or witness will ever go to Arrow again because of what happened under the first director, who's now long gone, but still seems to act as the spokesperson for that organization.
And I would say, Madam Chair, maybe at some point we need to really dig deep into Arrow, and I would encourage us.
Oh, I'd be happy to send maybe a subpoena to Mr. Kilpatrick.
Another question for you, Mr. Knapp. What is, in your view, having investigated this issue for so many years, what is the long game with respect to disclosure of this information to the public? Because with the advent of essentially a video camera and a high megapixel phone in everybody's pocket, at some point, this information is going to be impossible to withhold from the public. What do you think is the long game here?
Well, the secret's out. I mean, how many videos have there been already? You know, videos that are leaked from within the military and intelligence agencies and contractors and sensor platforms. It's out there. But they have the high ground. The people that don't want us to take it seriously dismiss it, discredit the witnesses, come up with a cover story. I mean, it's been out there a long time. The public senses that it's real, and the people in authority dismiss them. It's a game that's been going on a long time, and I don't think they're ever going to release it. I think that there's an attitude among the people that have been involved in this for a long time that the public doesn't deserve to know, and that the public probably can't handle it, but they can.
Real quick, I'd like to ask the committee to replay that video that Burleson had played earlier. I want to ask every witness here, specifically ones that have sensor training or have been able to recognize some of this movements real quick. So if you guys can please roll that real quick. Okay, while this is still rolling, Mr. Nusatelli, real quick yes or no answers. Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
Okay, does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Nat?
I had a different reaction. I was really happy that it got out. Thanks for providing that.
Curiosity kills the
Congressman.
cat. All right, Mr. Borland?
Yes, for
Okay. All right, that is the end of my questioning.
Chief, I was on a ship for a little bit. I was a gunner's mate on the USS Gettysburg for a couple years. My question to you is, when you had your encounter and you saw it on the screen, you were in the CIC, is that correct?
That's correct. On an LCS ship, the CIC is on the bridge, so it's called ICC-1, but yes, same.
Did a bunch of the other folks in the CIC come and check out what you were looking at?
Yes, we all did. tactical action officer, myself, the RCO, and two others that were on watch. We were all in the same space, so we were all looking at the Sapphire screen all at the same time.
Because in the other couple instances with the witnesses, you guys just saw it by yourself, is that correct? Mr. Borland, you saw it by yourself?
For me, yes, sir.
Mr. Nusatelli, you saw this by yourself?
No, there were multiple witnesses in every case at Vandenberg.
Okay. How long did that encounter take place, Chief?
So the encounter itself, from the time I recognized on my radar to the time after the video ends, was probably about 5 to 7 minutes.
What speed was the object moving at?
When I first witnessed off the port bridge wing the object moving out of the water, what I thought was originally just a light on the water, something on the horizon, and surfacing and going into the air, I then knew it was an air contact. But as an air controller myself, I started thinking and going through kind of like my checklist in my mind. Could it be a helo? But it's not blinking lights. So I then realized this is something I've never seen before. So the speed itself, just going from the horizon to about maybe 4,000 feet in the air, was very slow, slowly rising. And then it sped up. I'm not an expert at, knowing specific speeds of aircraft just by visual eye, but I would say probably 1-2 Mach instantly into the rest of the formation. I didn't notice visually with my own eyes the other 3 objects until I went back to my radar and also utilized Sapphire to see that, in fact, there were 4 total. And then again, when they all left after a certain amount of time, it was nearly instantaneous.
So you spotted it visually first, Chief, and then went back to your radar, or did you guys spot it on radar first?
Radar first, because that was my watch station, was
And then you went out to the port bridge wing, is that correct?
correct, to verify what I saw on my radar.
What range was it at, Chief, when you were able to see it visibly?
I would say about 7 nautical miles, 7 to 8 nautical miles of a light from the ship.
Wow. Thank you. I yield back.
Chief Wiggins, you said that it emerged from the ocean. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And before it did, it was glowing. It was a glowing object under the water.
That part I couldn't tell because it was nighttime at 1915 approximately, and it was also at a distance. So it's very hard to tell the difference between something on the horizon and something surfacing from the water. My personal thoughts after seeing what I saw is that it did in fact come from the water, but I don't have visual evidence showing exactly, that it did in fact come from the water. But I had to go through my process of elimination and try to figure out, was this a ship on the horizon just showing its lights at night, but to see it surface, then it made me question, okay, where did this come from? If it's flying and it's not a drone or anything like that, where was its origin? Where did it start?
Mr. Knapp, in your testimony and in this document, you detail an event that happened in Russia where their nuclear missiles were activated, and we were close to a World War III at that time, which is startling to hear. It's also good to know that as we have investigated the JFK files as well, that we're learning that that there was a document that was sent between Russia. There was an agreement between Russia and the United States that if they were to see some unidentified objects over sensitive sites, that they would report it to each other. Are you familiar with that document?
Yes, I'm also familiar with the rhetoric, public rhetoric between President Reagan and Gorbachev at the time, too, that they traded statements about, wouldn't it be something if we were threatened by something from way outside, how we might work together. I know for sure that they had conversations about it, and I know we did reach an agreement to try to lessen the possibility that us detecting a UFO or group of UFOs would not be mistaken for a bunch of Russian missiles. There were exchanges of that sort that went back and forth.
Yeah, and I can imagine this is, to me, the validity of this document is underscored by the fact that Russia would not want this to be known. They absolutely would not want to know, the public to know, or the United States to know, that there was a vulnerability in their missile systems. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And, you know, and we had many similar incidents at our nuclear weapons facilities here that have all been sort of swept under the rug, but it's pretty scary when you take down 10 missile silos during tense times and you don't have a better explanation for it than it was a special test of security mechanisms or using EMPs, which is a preposterous explanation.
At this point, I think it's clear from the hearing that there's advanced technologies that are taking place in our airspace. You know, the question is, and I posed it in one of the previous hearings, is it ours, is it theirs, or is it otherworldly? There may not be a silver bullet at the moment, but when you look back through the hearing and the evidence that's been presented, if you're going to point the American people to one piece of evidence to start their journey on this topic, what would you suggest, sir?
One piece of evidence, I would start with this hearing, in the first hearing. There is no evidence.
But is there a specific, exactly, but is there a specific evidence or footage or document that you think lends extreme credibility to what we're discussing today?
I would say this new video we're seeing today is exceptional evidence that we're dealing with something.
With the kinetic?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggins?
Sir, I'd have to say that if just the average person here in America looked at absolutely everything that has come across television, the internet, et cetera, you can't tell yourself that 100% of what's being recorded is fake or false. You have to, at some point, understand that there's something else out there.
Well, I mean, and you bring an interesting point. You know, in the law enforcement community, anytime you're conducting an investigation, you're always looking at the totality of the circumstances. You're looking at all the evidence and how they piece together. And so that would be my, advice to the American people, that this is a journey that is just beginning from a congressional perspective, but you have decades of data, some of it not real, much of it is, but thanks to Chairwoman Luna, we're now presenting this to the American people. And I think this latest video from Mr. Burleson is something that should get everyone pause. When you see the 3 orbs that drop, was that in a defensive posture or was that in an offensive posture? And what capabilities did those orbs have that we, quite frankly, may not have? Mr. Knapp?
As I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, what hooked me on the story was the paper trail, these documents that shouldn't exist. We've been told for decades, over and over, there's nothing to it. It's not a threat. You can go about your business. And then when FOIA becomes the law of the land, thousands of pages to the contrary leak out. There's a memo by General Nathan Twining in 1947 when the country was being overflown by dozens of UFOs, hundreds of UFOs, in which he said, look, this is not visionary or fictitious, it's real. These things are craft. They're not ours. They outperform anything we've got. I mean, if you follow the paper trail of documents that they wrote before the military got wise and realized that FOIA really exists and changed their tune and not put things in writing, it spells it out pretty clearly. I'll go refer back to Russia. One incident I did not mention to Representative Burleson is Colonel Sokolov in that Ministry of Defense program said there were 40 incidents where Russian warplanes were sent to intercept UFOs, and they were ordered to fire on them. And for the most part, the UFOs would zip away. 3 of the pilots, though, did fire at these things. Those 3 planes stalled out, crashed. 2 of those pilots died. And after that, the Russians changed the standing order. If you see a UFO, leave them alone. No country in the world wants to say and admit that these objects are flying around in our airspace and there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, who wants to say that? The U.S. certainly doesn't. The Russians didn't either.
And I've got to be almost out of time, but Mr. Berlin, then you, sir, real quickly.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think Bob Lazar, and not for the reasons that most would talk about, mainly because Bob Lazar was immediately discredited. They said he never worked where he worked. They said he never did what he did. But yet Bob Lazar showed up with a bunch of friends and a video camera and was filming these test flights in the middle of the desert. So clearly he knew something.
Dylan, knowing you testified to Arrow, are they obfuscating when they claim to have discovered no evidence of extraterrestrial beings activity or technology, and are they lying to the American public?
As I said before, it's a manipulation of the public perception. The statement, scientific evidence of extraterrestrials, is a true statement. It is not the truth about what is happening and what we have.
Any of y'all like to comment on that further? Mr. Knapp, you're getting edgy.
It's splitting hairs. No proof that they're extraterrestrials. What would that proof look like? A piece of kryptonite? What would it be? I mean, we could be talking about different forms of non-human intelligence. I think the dominant paradigm is that they come from outer space, somewhere else, and they have some way that they can cross those vast distances that we can't even imagine doing. But not necessarily, that's not necessarily the answer. So asking for proof of extraterrestrials might not be the answer at all. It's splitting hairs. We don't know where they're from. I don't know anyone who knows the answer for sure. They call them aliens just as a placekeeper kind of a word, but no one in all these programs who've studied this stuff for years, people with much bigger brains than mine, knows the answer for sure.
I've talked to Navy folks that some of the deep sea areas, they think there might be something there, that they're here, and I don't know when they got here. Another point that needs to be made is every time, we say we're going to back engineer or whatever you want to call it, these craft, I always say, like, it'd be like if you took I ride motorcycles, but if you took like an Indian or a Harley to the people that came over here on the Mayflower, they'd see a bright, shiny object. They might polish it. They might get it started. I doubt they could. They couldn't work on it. They couldn't put fuel. They wouldn't be able to have the capability of putting fuel in it. I just think that's, we're scratching at something that we don't have any knowledge of, and that's why it's just taken so dadgum long. But they do know, first one that cracks that code, it's over. I mean, it's energy, it's power, it's everything. And I worry too that in the wrong hands that they do that, they keep it from the rest of us because they're so invested in whatever energy sources we have here that their billionaire buddies are going to profit, and they can't retool because they know once it's out on the internet, it's over. And so I think there's a lot of things going after it, and I think that's why the move to discredit folks is so rapid too. I think, they point to them and they put the dogs on them, and it disgusts me.
There's a price to be paid for that too. The Russians and Chinese are trying to figure this out as well, but they don't have the same kind of stigma. They tell their best scientists and engineers, get in there and work on it. And they've been doing it for a very long time, might have a head start on us. Here, we don't have our best scientists and engineers working on it because they've been told it's nonsense. The stigma is very real for people like that.
I agree.
Mr. Nusatelli, when you heard the testimony of Mr. Knapp talking about these missiles were shut down or turned on in Russia, does that remind you, when you hear these stories, it's got to remind you of the event that happened on your base?
Absolutely. There are many accounts of incursions of this type taking place. I believe in the 60s we had a similar incursion in New England, and same thing happened. There were these objects coming over the base at low altitude, 200 feet over the base security police, and they were scrambling fighters, and then the objects would just fly off, and that went on for weeks. So the historical record has laid out that there's a pattern, that our installations are visited by these craft. They come in and do whatever they're doing, and then they leave. And we don't know how to respond. We don't know how to protect the installation. So that's why we're here.
When you first heard, and we're having to report on these incidents that were being witnessed by other individuals, did you believe them? Did you yourself believe it would be true until you saw it?
Yeah, these are people I've worked with for years, deployed with. I was in some of the weddings. These are people that I worked with every day of my life. Usually when the events were occurring, we were all together. There'd be 40, 60, 100 people on duty during these encounters.
Really?
Yeah.
All seeing it at the same time?
Yes, these encounters were playing out while we were on duty, and we were responding and investigating in real time as they occurred.
And as you said, the importance of your operation was highly important because they said it's the most important in 25 years. the research that you were conducting?
For that particular launch, we had 500 Air Force police officers guarding the launch. 500 people. It was that critical.
Wow.
But had this thing showed up, we wouldn't have been able to do anything to prevent it showing up.
Real quickly, can you just redescribe size and whether or not you heard anything? It was, how big wise?
The two square objects were at least as large as a football field. The second encounter, they think it was much larger than a football field. We're talking like flying buildings. The object I saw was about 30 feet in diameter.
And to confirm, you were not the only person that saw this.
Correct.
I think I was also told that there was also reports of this in a police blotter in the area. Can you confirm that?
Yes, that's the documentation that I maintained from the original event and turned into Aero and the FBI.
Okay.
My name is Jeffrey Nusatelli. I'm a former military police officer with 16 years of active duty service in the U.S. Air Force. I'm here today because the American people have both the right and the responsibility to know the truth about unidentified aerial phenomenon. That truth remains hidden, classified, and silenced by fear, retaliation.
All right. So, thanks for hanging out. I wanted to bring that congressional hearing back. I know a lot of people did not get a chance to see that congressional hearing. Okay, a lot of people did not get a chance to see it. I'm talking about millions of people did not get a chance to see it. But it's very interesting because it talks about a lot of the things that we've been talking about on Forbidden Knowledge for decades now. Decades, all right? Absolute decades. Lee says, I love the video. Quick question, Billy. What are the two differences in your book, both books? Oh, I don't have them on my desk right now. One book is the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. The second book covered the two tablets that were released later to mankind, where I was able to finally get those two tablets and break them down. And break down the cymatic frequencies in there. And in there are QR codes that scan over to audio files. So it's an interactive book. So you can hear the pronunciation, the correct pronunciation of the cymatic frequencies. That's in the second book, The Forbidden Emerald Tablets. Okay, thank you. But yeah, so I've been talking about this for a very, very long time. I'm talking about from the first videos you can ever find of me talking back in 2008 all the way till now. We're talking quite some time. Quite some time. I remember my first YouTube account that I had. It was deleted by YouTube right when I hit about 1,100,000 subscribers. Gone. I launched that YouTube account in 2007, and by 2010 I had 1 million on it, and then shoot, they just took it down. At that time, a lot of the topics that we're allowed to talk about now, we couldn't even mention them. We couldn't bring them up. We couldn't talk about them. We couldn't speak on them. And they would just delete your accounts back then, right? And so Renee says, if they wanted to harm us, they would already have harmed us. Our tech is no match. So the fact that we're still here points to intent, not invasion. Maybe it's not a threat. I definitely don't think it's a threat at all. Great statement there, Renee, and thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. You know, we've been talking about this for a very long time. And I think that the U.S. government wants to pump a lot of fear. They want to keep people afraid that these things are some type of a threat to global security and national security, and that we can't stop them. You're damn right we can't stop them. Now, some of these things are not them. Some of these things are ours, and they're being flown on experimental missions. They're being flown on deceptive missions as well. So some are ours and some are theirs. How did we create them? Many whistleblowers have come forward talking about the fact that these are ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles. Most of the technology that we've been able to acquire and reproduce has been from downed craft, downed UFOs, going back as far as before Roswell. So Nikola Tesla was developing a weapon called a scalar weapon. And this scalar it does something miraculous. It's one of the greatest forms of radar technology. After Nikola Tesla passed away, we know that the US government and others, including Trump's relatives, went in there and took all of his documentation. They claim it disappeared into, ambiguity, just gone. We don't know where this stuff went. No, it turned into technology for the modern world, is what it, where it went, especially the tech that could have been weaponized. Now, originally, the scalar weapon was utilized not for weaponization, it was utilized for actually what the main purpose was, which was radar, a sophisticated type of radar. And the military noticed something crazy when they would point this radar at our own airplanes flying over. It had an effect on the orientation, on the navigation system. It would disorient the craft. So when they learned of this, and then these UFOs were appearing, and they were tracking these UFOs, they activated the scalar toward the UFOs just to see would it do the same thing it did to our planes. And guess what? It did the same thing. It disoriented these UFOs. And that is what brought the UFOs down. They didn't traverse space and time and go through portals and wormholes to get all the way here just to crash. They crashed because of something they did not expect. They did not anticipate. Space travel is dangerous. We know this. Hence, for every 5 rockets we launch, 1 doesn't make it. Space travel is dangerous. Space is dangerous. And sometimes you can't predict or take into account every possible thing if you were a spacefaring race and had the capability of traveling to other planets. Sometimes you're just rolling the dice. And they rolled the dice. And when they got here, they didn't understand or know that we had developed this scalar technology and that it would disorient their craft and bring them down. In 1947, at the Roswell incident, we didn't bring down 1 UFO. We brought down 2 that day. They never talk about the second one. 2 UFOs went down that day. Those craft were then retrieved. They were then reverse engineered. And a lot of the technology we're using today came from those 2 downed craft in 1947. Microchips came from those craft. Velcro, sounds like a simple thing, but Velcro is huge, came from those craft. Fiber optic cables came from those craft. And many other technologies that have permeated our entire civilization today came from reverse engineered tech from those craft, including black budget programs that are running with no congressional oversight to do ARVs. We call them now UAPs. Craft that are running black budget projects with no oversight, no FOIA. We can't get a Freedom of Information Act on them because they were developed and built by contracted private contractors, meaning outside the government agency, so we can't see where the hell the money went and what they've developed. We don't even know where they're going, what their missions are. We have no way of finding out anything except for whistleblowers like these that come forward and spill some of the beans. Right? So it's a pretty big web, and the more you dig into it, the more sticky it gets, the more trapped you get because there's so many angles to go on. Lee says, Billy, do you think the government is planning Project Bluebeam? Truly want to thank you for introducing me to Thoth and your wisdom. Thank you, brother, and thank you for the donation. Project Bluebeam is a holographic projection conspiracy where they talk about the government possibly utilizing holographic projections in the sky to create an alien invasion. I wouldn't rule that out. I mean, these people are capable of doing pretty much anything. Look, remember what happened with JFK. So JFK stopped an actual major false flag that was being set up by the government to attack our own people. He stopped that from happening. And there have been many other false flag attacks against the American public, which have now been declassified by the government. They're even on Wikipedia. You can actually look them up now. So you can't put anything past what the government is capable of doing. I mean, they've tested nuclear waste on Americans. They have tested syphilis on their own soldiers. I mean, they've done some of the most egregious things against their own people. They've taken children as foster kids and adopted children or children inside of orphanages and tested on them chemicals and injections of particular types of quote unquote vaccines and everything else. There's been a lot going on for quite some time. And you can't really put anything past these people because, you know, they don't have a conscience. They will literally do whatever it takes. And for the most part, they don't see, in my opinion, they don't see human beings or the civilization as human beings. They just see us as chattel. You know, the only value that we have to them is to just keep the economic gears cranking so they can keep putting their boot on someone's neck because they need a neck to put a boot on. And they've got these black budget secret space programs that have been in operation for a very, very long time. And they got really smart with NASA by making NASA a front agency to front being in, space exploration. They siphoned billions of dollars from the American taxpayers into NASA, 25 billion of last year. And then they gave us those pictures of street lights talking about it was a UFO. Talking about it was it was Three-Eye Atlas. Foggy street lights on a foggy night. That was their high resolution $25 billion image. The whole thing is a big sham. Behind the scenes, they have the real space program. They are doing real things in space. They're traveling to real planets and moons. They're exploring and doing things and maybe even communicating with the others. And all of that being suppressed from the general population that paid and funded it, which should be illegal. And they've also unalived quite a few people to make sure that some of these ARV secrets never truly leak out. I was at a press club in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago with Dr. Stephen Greer, and there were eyewitness accounts of whistleblowers that came forward, former military, and one heartbreaking story, they unalived his father, and they tried to unalive him, and they broke his back. These people got no money, no fame, no fortune, nothing out of becoming a whistleblower other than losing loved ones and a lot of strife and having their bank accounts wiped out. And that's why I believe them. They don't have books. They don't have anything. They have nothing. And when they go on all these news shows and TV shows and these documentaries, if you see any of them there, they get no money. They get a per diem for lunch and their air flight taken care of in the hotel room. That's it. Nothing else. And they have the credentials. And so when these people start speaking out and saying things, we have to listen to them because they are putting their lives on the line. And they're coming out and they are saying that we have reverse engineered alien technology. Some of them have come forward and say we have the bodies. Some of them have come forward and said that we have the downed craft. Still, till this day, we have the evidence. Of course, they are secreted away in compartmentalized, deep underground bases and dumbs, far away from prying eyes. And most of us will never know, see, hear, touch, or taste any of it for many generations to come. But this is the state of the world that we live in right now, where control and domination by the public servants have taken over the world. Public servants. And that says a lot about us as the civilization, we the people. We the people have allowed servants to dominate us. We the people have literally allowed public servants to take over every aspect of our lives. We allowed them to create the system, we signed off on it, and then we participate in it. And our silence is collusion with their plan. Everything that they do to us, they have to get our approval to do it. And we willingly give it to them. So the only person to point the finger at and to be frustrated with, it's not them, it's us. We actually allow servants to dominate us, public servants. From the police force all the way up to the highest level of government, we've allowed public servants to dominate us, to unalive our children in the streets, to put us in jails and prisons, to take money out of our income and send it to oligarchs around the world that run the banking systems. We've allowed them to put us to work for 70, 80 hours a week and then siphon 30 to 40% of that money from our sweaty backs and create weapons with that money that we then sell to other foreign nations so they can unalive children in the streets. We're complicit in all of this, every single one of us, including myself. We participated in all of it. And then we wonder why the aliens don't land and say, hey, what's up, guys? Are you kidding me? If that one UAP wasn't ours a few months ago, the one that we fired a Hellfire missile at, if it was, let's say, just hypothetically, let's say it wasn't ours. We don't really know. Maybe it was ours. But what if it wasn't? The first thing we do is send a Hellfire at it just to see what happens, not knowing what type of repercussion can come down on us. Think about that for a minute. One part of the military doesn't know what the other part of the military is doing or capable of doing because there's no oversight. They don't even answer to the president. And so one part of the military is assuming this thing might be a UFO, UAP, whatever they want to call it now. They've taken over the narrative. And the person above that person, the commander, says, put a drone in place and fire a Reaper at it. Let's see what happens. Nobody says, let's track this thing. Let's try to scan it. Let's get telemetry from our satellites in orbit and try to gather some more intelligence and data on this thing. Let's analyze the light coming off of it so we can analyze and see what spectrum it's giving off, what type of metals or energetic fields it might be exhibiting. Let's hit it with a beam from space so we can scan the magnetic signature of this so we can see the electromagnetic field, how strong or how weak it is. Let's study this thing. Let's analyze it. Let's figure out, let's get more data. No. We don't want data. The first default mechanism they have is let's fire a Reaper at it and see what happens. Not knowing if this thing has the capability of sending a signal like ET phone home and call a whole fleet in. This shows the IQ of the people that are working in the military. This shows the IQ of the robot NPC military officers that take commands from people sitting in $10,000 suits halfway around the world in a very safe place where they can get to a bunker. We got to do better, man. We have to do better. We have to do much better. If we want a seat at the table with an advanced race of beings, then we got to start acting like a damn advanced race of beings. Because right now, we're not doing it. Drew says, did you see 3i Atlas, all the airports in Europe that have been shut down because of drones and military can't shoot them down? Yes, I saw that. I'm doing a video on that tomorrow. Thank you, Drew. Yeah, this thing somehow potentially, or they're assuming it came from there. Something weird is happening. There's a lot of strange anomalies. They can't stop them. They can't catch the drones. They can't shoot them down. There's a lot going on. But I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be hard on us, but at the same time, until we mature as a race, and I'm talking about a human race, until we mature, um, you know, we're not gonna be able to reach our full potential as a civilization. We have to stop these servants from dominating us, from unaliving us, and everything else that they have going on. They do whatever they want to us, and they're the servants. But they've manipulated us and they've tricked us into believing that we work for them and that we need to do what they tell us to do. That's the problem. Somebody said, do I think these are the Anunnaki? Well, the Anunnaki are still here. The Anunnaki are still here. So, and I got that from Major Ed Dames directly from his mouth when I attended his remote viewing classes a few years ago in Orlando, Florida. I went twice, 2 years in a row. And he states that they are still here. Not all of them, but some of them. And they have a base in Antarctica, according to him, and they come and go as they please. And he says, no government of the world can stop them. His exact quote, Major Ed Dames. So anyway, that was an interesting video. Obviously, people are willing to come forward. I'm going to start showing more disclosure content on here because a lot of people are completely unaware that these disclosures have been happening for quite some time. They just don't know. I mean, no, nothing against them. They're busy. They got to go to work, pay bills, take care of kids. There's a lot going on, a lot of distractions out here as well. And so I just want to bring people back up to speed as to where we have advanced to, because this topic that I just streamed today, I could not talk about this on this platform back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, even 12, 13. They removed my account from the platform. I had to make a brand new account. I wasn't Forbidden Knowledge initially. I was Survive Pole Shift. That was my original name. And why that name? Well, one of the things I believe is coming on the horizon is a massive pole shift of the crust of the earth in approximately 250 to 300 years from now. But along with that, I was talking about a lot of the situations and things that I've been talking about since 2000. I reopened this YouTube account, reactivated it in 2000. I think it was 2021 is when I started using it again. I had just been reposting old content, or maybe making a post here or uploading a YouTube, Instagram live every now and then. It wasn't really working the account, but I made a conscious effort to start building this account back in 2001 or 2022, one of the two. And it shot from 100,000 subscribers to now it's at 1.2 million and growing. And then I have the Billy Carson official YouTube account, which is at about 680,000 now. That was at like damn near zero when I started it and built it up. So, and then I've got 3 other YouTube accounts. I just learned you had to have multiple accounts in case they decide to take one away from you. You just never know. I learned my lesson. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I try to mix the content around between several different platforms. But anyway, it was interesting. So I'll start playing more disclosure content on here. I'll start airing more disclosure information, bringing up some of the other disclosure content that I had from a while back that probably hardly anybody even knows exists. And start mixing it in so that people can get brought up to speed. They've been saying, well, when they're going to tell us about the aliens? Well, I'm going to show you that they've been talking about this for quite some time. UAP just started a new discussion, but the discussion's been going on since 2001 on a high level. And I'm going to bring forward some former military security, former military rocket scientists and astrophysicists. They're going to come on and talk about what they saw. And they weren't UAPs back then. They were real UFOs coming to the bases and deactivating the nukes. So it's going to be interesting. They announced life on Mars on the same day that Charlie Kirk got unalived. So no, hardly anyone caught that. They didn't get to hear the big news that, yeah, alien life does exist. According to them, it's just bacteria and viruses, but it's real. It exists. Some acknowledgement, very slow disclosures coming out, drip by drip. And I just want to keep everyone abreast of where we are and bring you up to speed. Okay. So yeah, it's just a lot going on. It's a lot going on. 2 years ago, I did a UFO hunt in the Mojave Desert. I did it 2 years in a row. Okay, 2 years in a row. I did that. I'm going to start it up again next summer. I'm going to do another UFO hunt. Both years we were not let down. We had great sightings in the Mojave Desert, and I'm going to take some more people out. That's a very small trip because we can't handle a lot of people on that one, probably 15, 20 people max. But I'm going to announce a new UFO hunt, and we're going to go to the same spot where we saw the last ones. And we'll go summer of 26. I'll find the dates and I'll let people know soon. Okay. Lee says, "What's your opinion on the Vatican?" The Vatican is a horrible place, very satanic, evil place with very evil, wicked people running it. And underneath the Vatican is a 5-mile archive that has everything from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth to alien bodies and everything you could think of in between. Most of the knowledge that was stolen from the Library of Alexandria, yes, stolen. The Library of Alexandria was a knowledge heist, the largest heist of knowledge in history. And most of that knowledge has been whisked away into the underground area of the Vatican. The Vatican has a telescope in America, and that telescope in America is called the Lucifer telescope. Lucifer. And the Vatican astronomers are looking for evidence of alien life, which they believe that they personally claim they have discovered. And they claim that they would love to baptize the first alien. That's a press release straight from the Vatican. You can look it up. You got ChatGPT and Google now. And so they understand and know that the aliens are here and that they already exist, and they're actively seeking them. I don't think any aliens are going to let the Vatican baptize them. The popes are some of the most evil forces of nature on the planet Earth, especially the Black Pope. And I'm not talking about a black man. The Black Pope is a super Jesuit, wears a black robe. All wars on earth are consulted through the Black Pope. All wars are consulted through the Black Pope, not the black man. That's something totally different. The Black Pope, the super Jesuit. And that's a whole nother podcast. I can go on for hours about the Vatican and the papal inquisitions. They tortured and killed over 80 million people over the course of several hundred years during the papal inquisitions. And the torture tools are still inside their museums. They're very proud of the machines that they use to torture and kill people. They have the Pope's spear, which is this device that goes up into a woman's private area and it's spring loaded. So once it's up in there, because she doesn't want to be converted, or either she knows how to use herbs to heal people, or she has higher levels of intuition. So now she's some type of a witch. So they push it up into the private part, and then it spring loads, pops open on the inside, explodes the insides, destroys the uterus from the inside. Then she just hemorrhages to death. That's just one of the tools they have proudly displayed in their museum. Then they have the spire. The spire is a pyramid structure, about 3 feet tall, with a gigantic, thin steel needle coming straight up, about maybe 4.5, 5 feet up out of the center at the apex. Then they would tie a man up by his arms, winch him up in a tree on a pulley system, and then they would roll him down and have the spire go into his back door. And they would roll him up and roll him down, roll him up and roll him down for hours. That was a torture tool called a spire that they would enjoy utilizing on people who weren't ready to convert quite into their religion yet. You see how the world became religious? If I come to your village and start torturing your men and women and you witness it, because everybody had to come outside and witness this. When I say, now bow down and kiss this pinky ring and learn my language and pray to my God, pretty much you're going to do it. And by the second, third generation, it's just a natural thing. You're just born into it. Somebody gives you a name, a race, and a religion, and then you spend your whole life defending a false identity. Now, you took me off on a tangent when you mentioned that damn Vatican.
Well, family, I'm gonna stop it right there. So what y'all think about this video? Just hearing the witnesses testify about these UAPs, UFOs, whatever they want to call them. And then listening to Billy's commentary, he touched on a lot of things, and that's why I let his video run well past the talking points about the congressional hearing. So, family, the truth is out there. You got to seek it, and you know sometimes we get caught up in the roles and the BS of life, but we can't forget the whole reason why we're here is to attain knowledge, enlightenment, so we may move on to a better place. Well, family, always remember be more tomorrow than you were yesterday. Peace.